Voodoo, often misunderstood and shrouded in mystery, is a rich spiritual tradition with deep roots in West African Vodun. This belief system originated in the region that is now Benin, where it remains an important part of cultural identity. At its core, West African Vodun is a polytheistic religion, meaning it involves the worship of many gods. Central to this belief system is the veneration of spirits, known as Elwayi or Loas, who are considered intermediaries between humans and the Supreme Creator. Followers of Vodun honor these spirits through rituals, offerings, and ceremonies that reflect their respect for the natural world and ancestral spirits. As the transatlantic slave trade brought West Africans to the Caribbean and the Americas, Vodun evolved and merged with other spiritual practices. This cultural blending, especially with Roman Catholicism, gave rise to what we commonly refer to as voodoo. The integration of Catholic saints into voodoo as representations of Vodun spirits is a notable example of this syncretism. In the Caribbean, particularly Haiti, these practices flourished, giving birth to unique traditions such as Haitian Voodoo. Haitian Voodoo is distinguished by its vibrant ceremonies, music, and dance, which are essential aspects of spiritual expression. Rituals often involve possession by spirits, where practitioners enter trance states to communicate with the divine. This tradition emphasizes the community's connection to both their ancestors and the LWA, providing a sense of identity and continuity. In Haiti, voodoo plays a significant role not just spiritually, but also socially and politically, influencing many aspects of daily life. In the United States, Louisiana voodoo developed with its own set of practices and beliefs. This tradition, while sharing roots with Haitian Voodoo, is distinct in its incorporation of elements from other spiritualities, such as Native American beliefs and European folk magic. Louisiana Voodoo is known for its emphasis on gris-gris, charms or amulets, voodoo queens, notably Marie Laveau, and the use of hoodoo practices for healing and protection. The city of New Orleans is particularly renowned for its voodoo culture, which remains a vibrant part of the local heritage. Voodoo has also found a home in urban centers with significant Haitian communities, such as Miami and New York City. In these areas, the tradition adapts to the challenges and realities of life in a modern urban environment, while still maintaining its spiritual essence. These communities often hold ceremonies and public events that celebrate their heritage and keep the connection to their ancestral practices alive. In summary, Voodoo is a dynamic spiritual tradition that continues to thrive in various forms across the world. From its origins in West Africa to its transformation in the Caribbean and the Americas, Voodoo serves as a bridge between the past and the present for many communities, offering a sense of belonging and a means to navigate life's challenges. The blending of African spiritual traditions with Catholicism has led to the creation of syncretic religions that are rich in culture and history. This fusion is a direct result of the African diaspora in the transatlantic slave trade, which forcibly brought millions of Africans to the Americas. As they were displaced, these individuals carried their spiritual beliefs and practices with them. In an effort to preserve their heritage under oppressive conditions, enslaved Africans ingeniously blended their traditional religions with the dominant Catholic faith of their colonizers. This led to the birth of unique religions that maintain elements of African spirituality while incorporating aspects of Catholicism. These syncretic faiths, including Haitian Voodoo, Santeria in Cuba, Candomblé in Brazil, and Louisiana Voodoo, have thrived as vibrant expressions of cultural identity and spiritual resilience. Haitian Voodoo is one of the most well-known syncretic religions. It originated in the 17th and 18th centuries in the French colony of Saint-Domingue, now Haiti, where enslaved Africans from various ethnic groups combined their religious practices with elements of Catholicism. Voodoo centers around the worship of a supreme being, Bondi, and a pantheon of spirits known as Loa. Each Loa has distinct attributes and responsibilities, and practitioners believe they can intervene in human affairs. A key feature of Haitian Voodoo is its incorporation of Catholic elements. For instance, many Loa are associated with Catholic saints. For example, the Loa Legba, who serves as the gatekeeper between the spiritual and physical worlds, is often linked with St. Peter. Rituals in Voodoo frequently involve singing, drumming, dancing, and offerings to the Loa, and ceremonies often take place in conjunction with the Catholic calendar, such as All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day. Voodoo ceremonies are community events that foster a sense of unity and connection among participants. Santeria, also known as La Regla de Ocho, emerged in Cuba and is rooted in the Yoruba religious traditions brought by enslaved Africans from Nigeria. Over time, these practices merged with Catholicism, creating a vibrant, syncretic religion. Santeria is centered on the worship of deities called orishas, each of whom governs different aspects of the world and human life. Followers believe that these orishas can be appealed to for guidance and support. Catholic elements in Santeria are evident in the alignment of orishas with saints. For example, the orisha Chango, associated with thunder and fire, is identified with Saint Barbara. Rituals in Santeria often involve music, dance, and drumming, which are essential for invoking the orishas. Divination plays a crucial role in Santeria, with practitioners using tools like cowrie shells to communicate with the divine. Music and dance are not only central to religious rituals, but also serve to maintain cultural traditions and community ties. Candomblé developed in Brazil among enslaved Africans, primarily from the Yoruba, Bantu, and Fon ethnic groups. It is a richly syncretic faith that intertwines African spiritual practices with Catholicism. Candomblé is characterized by the worship of deities known as orixás, each associated with natural elements and human qualities. Followers believe that these deities can possess individuals during rituals, allowing them to communicate with the spiritual world. The connection between orixás and Catholic saints is a hallmark of candombló's syncretic nature. For instance, Oxum, the orixá of freshwater and love, is associated with Our Lady of Aparecida. Candomblé ceremonies are vibrant celebrations featuring music, dance, and elaborate costumes. Drumming is particularly important as it is believed to summon the orixás. These rituals are expressions of cultural pride and resilience, serving as a means of spiritual connection and community solidarity. Louisiana Voodoo is a syncretic religion that evolved in the southern United States, influenced by African, French, Spanish, and Native American traditions. Like Haitian Voodoo, it incorporates African religious beliefs with Catholic elements. Key practices include the use of talismans, charms, and rituals to interact with spiritual forces. Louisiana Voodoo places a strong emphasis on the use of herbs and roots for healing and protection. Catholic saints play a significant role in Louisiana Voodoo, with many practitioners drawing parallels between voodoo spirits and saints. For example, Saint Joseph is often revered alongside voodoo spirits in rituals. The religion is also marked by its unique customs, such as the making of gris-gris bags, which are believed to bring good luck or ward off evil. These practices highlight the adaptability and creativity of Louisiana Voodoo adherents in maintaining their spiritual traditions. The syncretic religions of Haitian Voodoo, Santeria in Cuba, Candomblé in Brazil, and Louisiana Voodoo exemplify the resilience and adaptability of African spiritual traditions in the face of adversity. By blending their ancestral beliefs with Catholic elements, practitioners have preserved their cultural heritage while creating dynamic spiritual expressions. These religions reflect a profound cultural fusion that continues to thrive, offering insight into the enduring power of spirituality to transcend boundaries and connect diverse communities across time and space. The biblical passage from Deuteronomy 18:9-13 presents a clear stance on practices such as divination, sorcery, and witchcraft. In this passage, these activities are explicitly condemned and are described as detestable acts in the eyes of the Lord. The text instructs the Israelites that when they enter the land God is giving them, they must not adopt the abominable practices of the nations already present there. Divination and similar practices are often associated with attempts to predict the future or gain insight beyond human understanding, relying on supernatural or occult means. Sorcery and witchcraft typically involve the use of spells, potions, or rituals to influence events or manipulate outcomes. According to the passage, these practices are forbidden because they rely on powers other than God, suggesting a lack of trust in divine providence and guidance. The passage emphasizes the importance of remaining faithful to God and warns against seeking guidance from those who practice these arts. It underscores the belief that such practices lead people away from the covenantal relationship with God. promoting a reliance on false sources of power. In summary, Deuteronomy 18:9 through 13. 9 When thou art come into the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee, thou shalt not learn to do after the abominations of those nations. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch, 11 or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. 12 For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord, and because of these abominations the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. 13 Thou shalt be perfect with the Lord thy God reflects a strong opposition to divination, sorcery, and witchcraft, highlighting the need for the people to remain devoted to God and avoid engaging in practices that are seen as incompatible with their faith. This perspective encourages believers to place their trust in God alone for guidance and understanding. The Bible consistently warns against practices associated with voodoo and other forms of occultism. These practices include divination, seeking omens, and consulting mediums or spiritists. By examining key scriptural references, we can gain a deeper understanding of the biblical perspective on these practices and the spiritual dangers they pose. Leviticus 19:26. Ye shall not eat anything with the blood, neither shall ye use enchantment, nor observe times. Leviticus 19:31. Regard not them that have familiar spirits, neither seek after wizards to be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. Do not practice divination or seek omens. Do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God. The book of Leviticus clearly prohibits engaging in divination and seeking omens. This command reflects the understanding that such practices are incompatible with reliance on God's guidance. The mention of mediums and spiritists indicates that any attempt to communicate with the spiritual world outside of God's provision leads to defilement. Leviticus 26. And the soul that turneth after such as have familiar spirits, and after wizards, to go a-whoring after them, I will even set my face against that soul, and will cut him off from among his people. I will set my face against anyone who turns to mediums and spiritists to prostitute themselves by following them, and I will cut them off from their people. This passage reinforces the severity of turning to mediums and spiritists. Such actions are likened to prostituting oneself, indicating a betrayal of one's commitment to God. The consequence of being cut off from their people underscores the spiritual and communal ramifications of engaging in these practices. 2 Kings 17:17. And they caused their sons and their daughters to pass through the fire, and used divination and enchantments, and sold themselves to do evil in the sight of the Lord, to provoke him to anger. They sacrificed their sons and daughters in the fire. They practiced divination and sought omens, and sold themselves to do evil in the eyes of the Lord, arousing his anger. Here, the practices of divination and seeking omens are linked to extreme acts of evil, such as child sacrifice. This association emphasizes the serious nature of these practices and how they lead individuals away from God's will, arousing his anger. Acts 19:18-19. 18. And many that believed came and confessed and showed their deeds. 19. Many of them also, which used curious arts, brought their books together and burned them before all men, and they counted the price of them and found it 50,000 pieces of silver. Many of those who believed now came and openly confessed what they had done. A number who had practiced sorcery brought their scrolls together and burned them publicly. In the New Testament, the book of Acts shows how new believers turned away from occult practices. The public burning of sorcery scrolls symbolizes repentance and the rejection of past behaviors that are inconsistent with Christian faith. Revelation 21:8. But the fearful and unbelieving, and the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars, shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, Those who practice magic arts, the idolaters and all liars, they will be consigned to the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death. Revelation provides a stark warning about the fate of those who practice magic arts, placing them alongside other serious offenses. The consequence is eternal separation from God, described as the second death. Revelation 22:15. For without are dogs and sorcerers and whoremongers and murderers and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie. Outside are the dogs, those who practice magic arts, the sexually immoral, the murderers, the idolaters, and everyone who loves and practices falsehood. This verse reiterates the exclusion of those who engage in magic arts from the community of believers. It underscores the incompatibility of such practices with a life of faith and truth. The scriptural passages examined provide a consistent and unequivocal condemnation of practices associated with voodoo and occultism. The Bible warns that such practices lead individuals away from God, defile the practitioner, and result in severe spiritual consequences, including separation from the community and from God Himself. The emphasis on repentance and turning away from these practices, as demonstrated in Acts, offers hope for redemption and transformation. For believers, these passages serve as a caution to remain steadfast in their faith and to avoid practices that compromise their spiritual integrity. In conclusion, the biblical condemnation of occult practices is rooted in the understanding that reliance on such practices indicates a lack of trust in God's sovereignty and guidance. It calls believers to seek their direction and spiritual fulfillment solely from God, fostering a life that aligns with His will and purpose. Origins and spread of voodoo. Voodoo originated from the African spiritual traditions of the Fon, Yoruba, and Congo people. Enslaved Africans brought these beliefs to the Americas, where they mixed with indigenous and Christian practices, primarily in Haiti and Louisiana. This blend formed the basis of voodoo as it is known today. Central beliefs and practices in voodoo. Voodoo centers around a belief in one supreme God, known as Bondi, and a host of spirits called Loa, who interact with the world. Practices often include rituals, ceremonies, and offerings to these spirits for guidance, healing, and protection. Practitioners may also use altars, drumming, dancing, and animal sacrifices as part of their spiritual expression. Christian concerns regarding voodoo practices. From a Christian viewpoint, some may see voodoo's invocation of spirits and use of rituals as conflicting with the worship of the Christian God. Concerns often arise about the potential for syncretism, where Christian symbols and saints are integrated into voodoo practices, leading to a perceived dilution or misrepresentation of Christian teachings. Biblical references. Highlighting concerns. Christians often cite passages such as Deuteronomy 18:10-12. 10. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an enchanter or a witch. 11. Or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard or a necromancer. 12. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord, and because of these abominations, the Lord thy God doth drive them out from before thee. Which warns against engaging in practices like divination or spiritism, and 1 Corinthians 10:20-21. 20. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? 21. For after that in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew not God. It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe. Swing, which advises against participating in offerings to spirits. These scriptures are seen as guiding principles against engaging in or supporting practices associated with voodoo. Placeholders for specific denominations or viewpoints. Depending on the denomination or interpretation, views on voodoo can vary. For instance, evangelical Christians might emphasize the exclusivity of Christ and the dangers of syncretism more strongly, while Catholic perspectives might focus on distinguishing cultural practices from core spiritual beliefs.